In the last video, we looked at class selector. In this video, we are going to look at the ID selector. So the ID selector is very similar to the class selector with a very big difference. For the ID selector, you can only use it once on your whole web page. Okay, on your one HTML page, you can only use it one time. The class selector, as you have seen, you can use it many times. Now, to use the ID selector, you have to have a number sign in front of the name of the ID. Okay, so for the class, you have a dot. For ID, you have to have a number sign. And then inside of that, you have your CSS declaration. So the attribute would be ID equals home, or just ID equals, and then the name of the ID. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, so here you can see that with class, you can have it multiple times. You can also have it, in the footer as well. If you had a footer, you can also have it in the footer as well. All right, so footer can also be class. Warning. You can use it many, many times. But with an ID, you can only use it once. Okay, so where would you put an ID? You would put an ID for things that are unique to the page that you would only have it once. You might have an H1 title many times, right? You might have it down here, another H1 title. You might, actually for a footer, you would probably only have it once, so that should really be an ID. But for a paragraph, you would have it quite a few times. So therefore, you can use a class. Okay, so for unique sections of the page, you really want to use an ID. Okay, so here we go. So header ID equals, you can say top. Okay, and let's go save. And then here, let's go style our ID. Just going to put it in the very top. Okay, so again, to write your ID, you have number sign. Top is the name of the ID, and then there we go, declaration. So I'm going to have, let's say width is going to be 80%, and I'm going to have border is going to be, 1 pixel. Solid black, okay, and then I'm going to have padding is 20 pixels and margin is 20 pixels. All right, so there we have it. I'm going to save all and then go take a look at my selectors.html, and here we go. Okay, so I'm styling my ID, I'm styling my header here, okay, with an ID. And the reason is because maybe on a different page, I don't want my header to look that way. Okay, so that might be a problem if I just write header. Okay, if I just write header here instead of giving it an ID, then this style will be applied to every page on the website instead of just this page. Okay, I could also name this home. So if I name this home, and over here home, ID home. Okay, so maybe for the home, I want the ID to look, the header to look this way. So that's why I have the style applied this way for the header on the home page. But maybe every other page I want it to look different, so I will have a different ID applied to it. And as well, I'm just going to save all. And as well, I'm not going to have this style applied to any other element on the page, only for home. So that's why I'm using an ID. An ID is going to be unique to just this one section. Okay, so I changed the name home here. Okay, and I also changed it in style. Okay, I decided that I like the name home better than top because it's more descriptive. All right, so I'm going to go over and look, and everything should remain the same. All right, there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, which actually has to do with a class selector. So when you're dealing with a class selector, Let's say that you have created this style here, warning, but you want this, to only apply to paragraphs that have the warning. Okay, so perhaps say, so if I go p dot warning, okay. So for paragraphs that has the warning class, I also want it to be bold font weight. Bold, but not for anything else that has the warning. Only if it's in the paragraph and it has warning class, then I want the font weight to be bold. I'm being very specific here. And to do that, you just place P inside of it. Only in paragraph, when it has the warning, then I want the font weight to be bold. If other elements have warning, it just needs to be red, but not also bold. Okay, so I'm gonna go save all, and then take a look at my page here. Okay, so you can see that this is bold, but not the footer. The footer is not bold. Okay. Only the paragraph. Okay, so your page might look a little bit different than mine, and the reason is because you probably have other styles applied to to your page here. Okay, so if that's the case and it's confusing you, you can go and delete all of those other styles for now. Okay, you might want them back later. For now, you can delete it, and then you can take a look at it. You can also work in a separate folder and only apply these styles here if it's confusing you. Okay, so let's go back to our PowerPoint and let's see what else we need to cover here. All right, so we looked at targeting an element with a class or ID. So like I said here, okay, P class warning, and then you have footer class is also warning. Then the one in the footer won't be affected by what is in P dot warning because it's only targeted at the at the class that is inside the paragraph. All right, so I hope that makes sense to you. All right, the next thing we're going to take a look at is grouping selectors, but I'm going to do that in the next video.